Turning now to elections in Europe, French leader Emmanuel Macron and far-right Marine Le Pen are preparing for a crunch presidential election debate, with supporters of the president warning against complacency despite a solid poll lead. Mr. Macron will go head-to-head with Le Pen late on Wednesday in their only direct clash before Sunday's second-round vote, an encounter to be watched by millions of voters. Some polls have projected a lead of about 10 points for Mr. Macron over Ms. Le Pen in a runoff, a repeat of the 2017 election, but undecided voters and abstentions could yet swing the figures. And let's get some more perspective. Kelechi Deka, international affairs analyst, joins me via Zoom. Good to have you join us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
So let's begin with Marine Le Pen, who was also a candidate in 2017. When you look at her, when you compare her to 2017, she seems to have taken a more moderate stance. She has toned down her stance on the EU compared to 2017, where she said there was going to be a referendum on EU membership. What do you make of her recent softer stance?
Yeah, I think she's just playing politics because the Leopard can't change his spots. But she's just trying to appeal to some voters that are dissatisfied with Emmanuel Macron. As soon as she gets there, she will show who she is. And she's a far-right ultra-nationalist. That's no doubt. And there's nothing, you can't take anything away from it. And she's promising to drastically cut sales tax on oil, gas, and electricity, scrap income tax for many young French workers, and raise minimum wage. And these are some of the things that are appealing to a lot of voters, especially with the way things are in Europe and the rest of the world economically. And so there's, everybody knows that she vows to defy the EU's core values by giving French citizens preference for job, housing, welfare benefits, imposing border controls and around France. So these are some of the things that highlight her ultra-nationalistic bent. And there's, with the way it is, by the time she gets there, she will manifest who she is. So I don't think what she's just doing now is to appeal to a lot of voters that are undecided. And some of these voters are people that are earlier strong extreme stance might kind of dissuade. So she's just toning down her rhetoric so that she will appeal to them and get their votes. And when she gets the votes, she will go back to who she is.
And she seemed to, in terms of her policies on international organizations, she almost sounds like former President Trump, in terms of she wants to reduce the financial contributions, France's financial contributions to the EU. At the moment, France is the second largest financial backer of the EU. It is a founding member of the EU. She also wants to tighten border controls, which is in contradiction to the EU policy of freedom of movement. Do you think that at this moment, EU leaders are probably on the edge of their seat, wondering what her presidency would mean for the continent?
Yeah, when you have someone like Viktor Orban in Hungary, who is also working in same line, and you have some other pockets of neo-nationalists all over Europe, the last thing EU leaders want is a France that will go far right. People should understand that France is like no other country in Europe, even no other country in the world. When you talk about countries that redefine what democracy is, what liberal roots are, and what human rights are, you're talking about France. France is the country that opened its borders. When it propounded, it's guided by three principles: legality, fraternity, and liberty. And these are the principles that it bequeathed to the world, that even the United Nations Human Rights Code were based on the French constitution. So what she's doing now is anti-French and also anti-Europe, because France is the driving force in European unity. When the British people pulled out of Europe, France was the last hope of Europe to hold to multilateralism. So what she's doing now, highly influenced by Trumpism and Bolsonarism in Brazil, and what Viktor Orban is doing in Hungary, if she gets there, she is going to destroy the core ethos of the European Union. And that is likely going to shatter the bloc and remake the Western Alliance.
And there is also the relationship with President Vladimir Putin, which many believe that would be the biggest issue of concern for her, considering the recent events in Ukraine. But she's within touching distance of the presidency. Do you think at this point that the Marine Le Pen presidency is a possibility for France?
Okay, from the latest figures, she's still trailing Emmanuel Macron, and some of the polls that just returned are showing that Emmanuel Macron is likely to still win, but with a margin. What is pushing her? Probably, because almost all elections within this period are being determined by what's happening in Russia and what's happening in Ukraine. And that's also what's causing a lot of problems all over the world. Because a lot of companies are in tight corner and the cost of living is rising. So she is making promises about that, and she's basing her campaign on the fact that Emmanuel Macron has failed in the last 5 years. But she has a kind of relationship with Putin. The kind of relationship that Trump had with Putin. She seems to like Putin, and if she gets there, there's the likelihood that it will also affect the French contribution towards the Ukrainian agenda and what's happening in Ukraine. And that is not good for Europe, it's not good for France, it's not good for global democracy. But the only winner that will come from it will be Putin. But whether she will wholly align with Putin by the time she gets into power, because France is a very different kettle of fish anyway, that's what we cannot say for now.
We'll see how things play out. There's a debate tonight, and there is the election on Sunday. We're monitoring, and we'll bring you more updates and details on that. Thank you so much for talking to us, International Affairs Analyst Kelechi Deka.
It's my pleasure.